Hello again, everyone. It's me, Alex, your nerd to the core, and today I'm going to be your Commander Dad. And today I want to talk a little bit about resilience and redundancy in building your Commander decks. And I'm going to be using one of my favorite decks of the moment, Ayara Widow of the Realm, to kind of highlight what I mean. So let's talk about the commander first. This is from March of the Machine. It's one of the transforming commanders. So the front side is 1 black black for a 3/3 Elf Noble, and you can tap, sacrifice another creature or artifact. This creature deals X damage to target opponent or battle, and you gain X life, where X is the sacrifice permanent's mana value. Now, I'm not going to be attacking too many battles. But for 5 and a Phyrexian red, so for 5 and a red or 5 and 2 life, you can transform them as a sorcery into Yara, Furnace Queen. 4/4 for a legendary creature, Phyrexian Elf Noble. At the beginning of combat on your turn, return up to 1 target artifact or creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste, and exile it at the beginning of the next end step. Now, for people old like me, this is a lot like Dawn of the Dead, an enchantment from Torment that brought creatures back from your graveyard every turn. I saw this card. It spoke to me. I love bringing things back from the graveyard. I love the idea of cards exploding out of the graveyard and causing damage. It was one of my first commander decks. It was a Rakdos deck, but this one is focused on artifacts. You could build it as traditional reanimator. It says artifact or creature, but for me, I love the idea of bringing back giant machines, and a lot of it has to do with cards in this first pile. So, like I said, this is all about redundancy. Ayara is not expensive at 1 black black, but the more times you have to cast her, the more expensive she's going to get. And it's it's an 8 or 9 mana investment every time. Granted, it's broken up over multiple turns, but on top of the 3 black or 5 or 7, if you have to pay the commander tax multiple times, you have to pay that 5 and a Phyrexian red every time you want to turn her into the Dawn of the Dead variant. So how do you build redundancy into decks? Well, you look for similar effects, and that's what this first pile is. These are all my favorite Goblin Welders. Now, Goblin Welder is a card from Urza's Legacy that's right here. It's a Goblin Artificer, and you can tap, choose target artifact a player controls, and target artifact in that player's graveyard. If both targets are still legal as this ability resolves, that player simultaneously sacrifices the artifact and returns the artifact card to the battlefield. That's a lot of rules text just to say you tap it, and 2 artifacts switch place, 1 from the graveyard, 1 from the battlefield. You can turn small things into big things. It's a tried and true strategy. There are legacy decks based around that, and it is a lot of fun. And it plays nicely with Ayara. And so these are all the different ways to get Goblin Welder right here into the deck. You have the Modern Horizons version, Goblin Engineer, which is 1 in a red for a 1/2, and when it enters, you can take an artifact card from your library, put it right into the graveyard, and pay red and sacrifice an artifact, return target artifact card with converted mana cost 3 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. This one only hits your graveyard. It's okay, and it only hits small things. But again, you're going to be moving things in and out of the graveyard. Scarecrow is from Eventide. It's 3 for a 1/2 Scarecrow, and you can sacrifice a Scarecrow to draw a card, or you can pay 4 and tap it to return target artifact creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Duretti's Scrap Savant is a Planeswalker. 3 in a red for a Planeswalker Duretti, 3 loyalty. +2, you rummage twice, so you can discard up to 2 cards and draw that many. -2, it's the Welder ability. Sacrifice an artifact. If you do, return target artifact card from your graveyard to the battlefield. -10, you get an emblem with whenever an artifact is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, return that card to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. Again, just more ways to get things back from the graveyard. Ruthless Technomancer is from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty Commander. 2/4, 3 in a black. It's a human wizard. When it enters, you can sacrifice another creature, and if you do, create a number of treasure tokens equal to that creature's power. But then you can pay 2 in a black to sacrifice X artifacts. Return target creature card with power X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. X can't be 0. Again, this deck will generate a ton of artifacts, and this puts them to use by bringing things back from the graveyard. Enrakir the Traveler is from the Warhammer 40,000 Necron deck. It's a legendary artifact creature, Necron, 4/4 for 4 and a black. Whenever it attacks, you may cast an artifact spell from your hand or graveyard by paying life equal to its mana value rather than paying its mana cost. This one hurts, but again, it does the same thing as our second already, Rocketeer Engineer. Its power is equal to the greatest mana value among artifacts you control, and whenever it enters or attacks, choose target artifact card in your graveyard. You may sacrifice an artifact, and if you do, return the chosen card to the battlefield. Star 5 for 4 and a red. All of these, every last one of these, and some other cards in the deck too, they all help to do the job when Ayara is not in play. Each of these are not quite as good. They all have a cost. They have to tap, they have to activate, they have to attack. But they all do the same thing. They bring artifacts back from the graveyard. Now, before I get too much deeper into the deck, I want to talk about some of my favorite cards that don't really fit the bill anywhere else. There are two of them. The first is our third Duretti, Ingenious Iconoclast. For 1 black red, it's a 3 loyalty planeswalker, +1, put a 1/1 colorless construct artifact creature token with Defender onto the battlefield. -1, you may sacrifice an artifact. If you do, destroy target artifact or creature. And -6, choose target artifact card in a graveyard or artifact on the battlefield. Put 3 tokens that are copies of it into play on the battlefield. I just love this card. I don't know how good it is. I don't know, every time I cast it, it does something. It's hardly a game-breaking planeswalker, but it just makes me happy. Like this card. Now this card, I won't lie, this card's pretty bad. It's Farid Enterprising Salvager from the Brothers War Commander deck. It's a 2 and a red for a 3/3 legendary creature human soldier. And it basically is here to generate material, because whenever a non-token artifact you control is put into the graveyard from play, create a colorless artifact token named Scrap. Scrap does nothing. It is just an artifact. But when you sacrifice an artifact, you can pay 1 and a red to sacrifice an artifact, and you choose one. Put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. It gains menace until end of turn. Go target creature. Or discard a card and then draw a card. None of the things this card does are individually great, but they all kind of serve a role in this deck. You can get artifacts into the graveyard, which is really important. You can generate material, which we'll see later is very important. Or you can encourage your opponents to attack each other. And more importantly, you can get cards out of your hand into the graveyard. Getting cards into the graveyard is really important because it's one of the end games of the deck. Here are 2 cards that help that process. The first is from Kaladesh. It's Quicksmith Genius, 2 and a red for a human artificer, 3/2. Whenever an artifact enters the battlefield, not cast, whenever one enters, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. You are going to see so many cards if you trigger that ability in this deck. The last one is from March of the Machine Commander, or the bonus sheet, not quite sure. I'm old, and the way the different sets are released these days, it's confusing. Regardless, this is Seer of Stolen Sight, 2 and a black for a Phyrexian Warlock, 2/3 with Menace. Whenever 1 or more artifacts and or creatures you control are put into a graveyard from the battlefield, surveil 1. This lets you manipulate the top of your library. It lets you get key cards into the graveyard. Now I keep talking about getting cards into the graveyard. We saw all those Goblin Welders. We see Ayara. But how this deck wins most of the time is by looping Scrap Mastery. Now this is from the Commander 14 product, the same as Duretti, for 3 red. It's a sorcery. Each player exiles all artifact cards from his or her graveyard, then sacrifices all artifacts he or she controls, then puts all cards he or she exiled this way onto the battlefield. We're putting a ton of artifacts into the graveyard. This brings them all back at once. But what do I mean by looping? Well, there's this fun card. You knew it was in here. It's called Krark Clan Ironworks. 4 colorless for an artifact from 5th Dawn. Sacrifice an artifact, add 2 colorless to your mana pool. Now, it would be a dereliction of duty if I had Krark Clan Ironworks in the deck and didn't have Scrap Trawler. 3 for an artifact from Aether Revolt, artifact creature construct, 3/2. Whenever Scrap Trawler or another artifact you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, return to your hand target artifact card in your graveyard with lesser mana cost. Now again, there's a convoluted modern deck based on this combo that's been banned out of existence. It is really cool. It is really tricky. It allows you to generate a ton of value. And this is a value engine in here, but it's not how the game ends. How the game ends is you end up sacrificing all your artifacts to Krog Clan Ironworks to resolve a big scrap mastery. And then you use this card. Not that card, but this card matters too. We'll bring it over here. Use Codex Shredder. From Return to Ravnica, it's a single mana artifact. It says tap. Target player mills a card. That's it. But 5 and tap, sacrifice Codex Shredder. Return target card from your graveyard to your hand. It's an artifact. You can put it in the graveyard. Bring it back with Scrap Mastery. Scrap Mastery goes into your graveyard. Well, if you sacrifice enough artifacts to Krog Clan Ironworks, you should have 5 colorless. So you can tap and sacrifice it to get back Scrap Mastery and do it all over again. Because you know a bunch of those artifacts you're sacrificing? They're mana rocks. Rakdos Signet, Cursed Mirror, the Black-Red Talisman, Arcane Signet. You're going to have red mana floating around. You're going to have a way to cast this over and over again. And then you're going to have one of 4 cards like this, Reckless Fireweaver. 1 in a red, Human Artificer from Kaladesh. For 1/3, whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, this deals 1 damage to each opponent. There are 4 or 5 different effects that do this in the deck. So you can go 2 ways with this. You can reanimate giant creatures like Worm Coil Engine and Triplicate Titan and attack your opponents. One of my favorite things to do is to put my opponents in the squeeze by bringing back Combustible Gear Hulk turn after turn. But if that doesn't work, you have the Scrap Mastery loop. And that's just a really neat way to close out a game. But none of it would work if the deck wasn't built around bringing things back over and over again. And that's what resilience means. It means that you're looking at what you're trying to do and building it into every element of the deck. So that way when one piece is missing, say your commander, it's gone in the command zone, shiny over here, you still get to do the thing. And that's important. You're spending your hard-earned free time to play this game. You should be able to do the thing. And building more ways to do the thing into your deck, that's just going to mean more fun for you. Now, I have an article on this subject. I'm going to link it in the description. It's about a different deck, Sequar Deathkeeper, but the concept's the same. How do you build towards having a good time and doing it when your commander isn't on the battlefield? Thanks again for taking the time to watch. If you like what you see, please like, comment, subscribe, or you can sign up for one of the Patreons below. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much, and have a good day.